Welcome, brothers and sisters, to this emergency Coffee with Dragon session. It's going to be a meditative session, and of course, your truly brother and sister, cis bro, world LGBTQ citizen Adrian h.a.dragan is not just an independent athlete and an independent activist, but an artist, of course, activist, artist, an athlete, but of course a universal spiritual teacher. So to the trinity of being an independent artist, activist, and athlete, I add the fourth dimension of being a universal spiritual teacher. Would have to add much to learn myself. I have to say that in the past year, children, volunteering and working with children has actually taught me quite a lot. Quite a lot. This cup of coffee is dedicated to the ongoing crises across the world, specifically the coronavirus. What is the coronavirus? Where did it come from? Where did it originate? How? How did it transmit into humans? How did it spread so fast? What are we to do? Is there any vaccine? What's the mortality rate? How many cases are there? How does it really spread? Who's the most at risk? Will be able to survive it. The COVID-19 coronavirus keeps spreading, of course. And this cup of coffee is dedicated to combating it, to emerging from it a humanity together. I want to see a paradox, since I have to be honest and say that my prophetic powers are not on par with many prophets that have come and gone in humanity. But as many things that seem coincidental, some believe in providence or paradox, and of course there's common sense and all those. But in November, have begun a workout challenge, since I've documented my fitness journey across the past 2 years. And I have, of course, documented much of my journey. And in November, I have begun actually it was late October. It was October 25th, just before Halloween, 25th, 26th. It was a few days after the month of Scorpio began. And I've introduced a scenario in my workouts, the 300 challenge, of which if any listens to these words, sees this video, will be able to see just by looking at my playlist on YouTube, the 300 challenge on the Dragon Gym. In October, before Halloween, began this fictitious scenario of, and I have to state before I go on that all my workouts, most of my workouts are dedicated to a cause, as the Dragon Gym initiative is, previously known as the World Citizens Gym. The cause, be it for world peace, for fighting economic inequality, fighting racism, LGBTQ discrimination locally, nationally, and internationally, and of course myself being a member of the LGBTQ family, and of course for women empowerment issues and the like. So my actions and my call was backed by me doing the physical activity, the workouts, and have begun in October this specific program called the 300 workout, which consists of 100 push-ups, 100 squats, and 100 hawks. And I've introduced a scenario that took the form of a worst case scenario where stock market downturn crash causes a global financial collapse, which in turn, after a few days and weeks, triggers a surprise attack by North Korea, and then they ally themselves with China joins a surprise attack on United States of America, North America, specifically the west coast of North America, including parts of Mexico, United States, of course, California and British Columbia, Vancouver. Vancouver is in British Columbia, Canada. And so 3 months push forward, now we have the coronavirus crisis, which seems to be not under control and keeps spreading. And we have a parallel cause and effect that the stock markets have been going down severely, I might add, and harshly and deeply in the past days. Especially today, this morning around 3 o'clock, I've heard that at one point it was minus 900 the Dow and stabilized to minus 360, but nonetheless they have been going down in the red by major percentage points. I think on Monday, Tuesday, there were about 2 percentage points, 3 percentage points, 1.5 percentage points for here TSX, and of course the Dow and the Nasdaq. So because linked mostly this downturn to the coronavirus, with the slowing down and the quarantines in the Chinese economy, the Chinese Communist Party taking measures such as curfews and, of course, quarantines. Supposedly, of course, from what we know, it originated in Wuhan. That's a big city, seventh biggest city, if I'm not mistaken, in China, 10 million people. In the city of Wuhan, China. From there it spread. And now Italy has a big outbreak. There was the specific incident on the cruise ship, I believe it was called Diamond, which had 2,666 passengers, where few of international passengers, and of which Israelis were infected. I believe some Canadians and an international crew, of course, lots of Japanese. And of course, have seen calls, never seen this in my lifetime. I don't know if you have. Probably not. This is the Cold War, of course, but even then. Calls for closing the borders. And of course, this is a paradox in many ways. And of course, I can see the fears and the uncertainty of all this. And even today, when I heard it on the news on 3 o'clock or so, that here in Hawk Island, also known as Montreal, there were calls for um, extra measures, and they were advising people to stack up on food. Stack up on food. Which again, as a parallel, was part of my ongoing 300 workout challenge, where the scenario where the food is a major point. As of course, as an activist, I believe in food security and what have you. But the calls by some to close borders and international commerce and international flying and transport is never heard that before. And of course, I can understand the fears. There is a high mortality rate. I believe it stands at 3.58%. 3 out of 10. No, actually, no, it's not 3 out of 10. It's correction. It's about 3 out of 100. If that's the percentage, if it hasn't increased, if it hasn't changed. But the paradox of this is, of course, that this virus does not discriminate. It doesn't matter if you're Italian, if you're Chinese, a citizen of China, a citizen of Italy, a citizen of Israel, a citizen of Canada. In such a way. Questions. I believe that this virus will spread, but it will not be the end of humanity. One must come together. And maybe the antidote is right in front of us. And I was meditating upon how my friend, who I call sister, who's a teacher, what she said, sometimes the negative energy and depression and what have you just needs a little bit of sunlight. It's something we take for granted on every day, but it's, as we speak, it's fertilizing somewhere in the world. So humanity, brothers and sisters across nations, we have one earth, one Mother Earth, and one Sun. Let us join and be